Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here, and today I wanted to talk about No More Heroes 3 and some of the disappointment that I felt as I was going through the game. So there will be no spoilers in this video outside of some visual stuff, so you will see some in-game customization items as well as, some powers that you get throughout the game, and of course you'll see the map of the game itself. But other than that, there will be no actual spoilers for this, so you guys don't have to worry about it. But the reason I made this video is because there are a couple issues with this game for sure. And if you couldn't figure out what the issue was on the little segment we have here with me walking out and walking back in, it's the horrendous pop-in issue. Or I can't even say pop-in sometimes, because as you can see right here, stuff just straight up doesn't load. Like period. Like some stuff just doesn't. If you didn't notice, the shirt is actually worse the second time. Like I don't even understand that. Like it was fine the first time. You leave, the whole world has to load up, and then I went back in because I was like, okay, maybe everything will be all right. I'll load in the little posters and stuff like that. You go back in, and for whatever reason, his clothes are worse. Like you can see his shirt and his pants. Like it doesn't make any sense. So there's a ton of stuff like this, like through the whole world. Like the whole map is like this, and you can see, driving around, there's just buildings. Like this building right here, the building with the bow. There was one point where I didn't even get this much detail. That's how bad it was. I literally couldn't even get this minute amount of detail, and that's how crazy it was going through this thing. And it's like, what is happening? I don't understand. Like it's so crazy how much excessive pop-in there is, if there's even pop-in. Like I said, like sometimes you just have issues where things just aren't loading, and then you have weird pop-in where you're just going kind of back and forth, or you just you can just move the camera around and you can see the pop-in there, and it's like, I don't understand this. Like, and also I should note that today is, as far as me filming this, it is September 17th. It is Friday. I know that there's currently an update, so if that update helps with the visuals and stuff like that, maybe all of this part is fixed. I hope. I doubt that's the case, but maybe it is. I don't know. But there's so much craziness going on where you can just walk through the world. And I honestly, I went through a big chunk of this game like that, and it really hits in San Destroy, I feel, more than anywhere else. San Destroy is definitely the part, as far as the buildings are concerned, where I feel the low textures and stuff, and just I could literally just stand around, because I'll stand around, like I'll just wait, like literally being inside of his room, I'll just stand and wait just to see, and it's like, nope, it just never loads in. And it seems like his room's like that permanently for me. Like you saw that it got worse, but the big poster in the background, like in his actual bedroom, that giant poster has been that way pretty much my entire game. Like once it happened, it seemed like it was just stuck that way, and it has not loaded in since that time. So it's super crazy. And you can even see here, I'm literally in the pause menu. I'm in the pause menu just trying to get a shirt, and it just doesn't work. Like it's so crazy how that happens, and they put all this work into these like giant worlds, and it's really bad. And just so you guys know, I don't have any footage of the first two games because I'm kind of just doing this whole video like over the course of like 2 days. But if you go back to the first game with the open world, obviously you can't with the second, but the first game had some serious detail to it, and I think it's because they kept it simple. It was like you're in Santa Destroy, and then the levels have detail, and that's just how it is. And of course that leads to the second issue I have with this game, which are just the issues with the worlds themselves, because each one, like it's just a myriad of issues with the different worlds. Like we're gonna start off with Thunderdome. I don't understand why it's like this. It's just empty. It's just a big empty thing. Like you just travel around to go to the couple of different designated things, and of course some of the side missions, but for the most part it's empty. You hit some invisible walls here and there, and that's about it. And then of course you go into the center, and the center is kind of cool, and then there's like a few things in there, but it's really weird. It just doesn't, it's just weird. It's so weird. And then of course Call of Battle is just trash. I think we all know that. Call of Battle is just like the worst one. It looks the worst. They put that crappy filter over it. Like it's already inside of a TV, and then it's just brown the whole time. And it's like, well, that's super ugly. And I don't know why. I mean, because they have open areas, like Thunderdome is a perfect example. There's water there. You can just see out into the water, and then they just make it nothing. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. And in this, they just like, we'll just make it brown. It's weird. And it's just the pop-in when you're driving is so bad. Like there's no reason that the texture should literally just like the hills just look like they're on the road. It's just bad. It's really bad. So I hate that. That's just the worst. And then the restrict the area here is also the thing where I feel like it's most in play, because that was the one area, even though I like it the least, it's also the one that I feel had the most potential, where it was like, oh, you kind of do the a certain point of the game, and I think like everybody else, I thought, oh, okay, maybe you go through so much and then eventually the restricted areas open up. Unfortunately, it doesn't. So if you haven't played the game, I guess technically that's a slight spoiler, but that's just to let you know the restricted areas just don't exist in the game. They're just there to do that. And considering something that happens in the story, Call of Battle had like the perfect area, because I was like, oh, this looks like it'll be like kind of a military base type situation. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It's restricted and nothing ever happens. So that was another random little thing. It's not a main issue. It's just like they spent so much time with this weird stuff just to make the map look giant, and then it's kind of empty, which I think leads to the perfect example of this game having just useless stuff in it, and it's Neo Brazil. I do not understand why they even made this its own section of the map. Like, you can see as I'm driving, there's nothing here. I think there are 3 people on this map in total. You have an alien, you have Sushi, and then you have a dude that helps you, or you can talk to for a side mission, and that's it. And there's there's designated missions and stuff, but you can just see it's like there's no reason for this location to even exist as its own individual map. It doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, I don't understand why they couldn't just blend levels together. Like, I feel like this is basically like Perfect World Light. Like, Neo Brazil looks just like Perfect World, which has a decent amount of buildings and stuff, and then you have the houses and everything. But you look at this and it's like, why couldn't these random giant structures, which they literally don't need in the game, you can't go in the structures, you don't fight in them, there's no story elements in those structures in any way, shape, or form. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they even bothered to build this specific location outside of what if we made it look like, like what if we made the map kind of look like the symbol of the game. That's literally it. It was like, other than that, I'm just like, just make the whole area restricted or something. Like, most of the maps have restricted areas anyway. If you combine all those together, you'd have your own island that's totally restricted. And they could have done that, and it would have been like, oh, that's just there, it's restricted or destroyed, and it would be just like it is now, where it's like, oh, I thought that would open up and it didn't. So it's super weird. Neo Brazil is just, I don't understand it, why some of these maps aren't just blended together. But this does have, honestly, like, my favorite levels as far as the designated matches, because you can find the ones that have 6 waves to them here, and I believe that that's the max. So these might be like the most difficult matches. I haven't seen anything higher just yet. But that leads me to my next complaint with this game, which is there are no levels. And I've seen some people mention that they prefer it to be this way, and I know that No More Heroes 1 and 2 is not like they have like the most immaculate Mastercraft levels of any game on Earth. But I would much rather have levels than have these designated matches. And maybe it's due to the fact that in order to do these matches where it's like, okay, cool, for the most part, you go in, you kill like 3 or 4 enemies, and then it's like, all right, well, that was cool. I have to go through some loading screens and stuff. And then I drive to the next one, wait through a loading screen. I kill like 3 or 4 more enemies. And then I leave out of that with the loading screen, go to another one. And it's just so repetitive. I was like, that's why I like the one that has 6 waves. Because I was like, this at least kind of feels like a level. I feel like I get to enjoy my favorite part of the game, which is the combat. Admittedly, the story too. But as far as actually playing the game, I was like, man, I would love to just have a continuous moment where I don't spend, you kill the enemies, unless you're doing a harder difficulty, you probably kill most of the enemies maybe in 5 minutes. Like, they're not really that, like, especially once you get used to the game, you're still fighting the same couple of enemies. And yeah, they do get harder depending on the mission you pick, but for the most part, I think it takes me maybe 5 minutes to take these things out. And then it's like, cool, I did that in 5 minutes, I fought 3 enemies, and now I'm just driving to another load screen. And that's the thing that bugged me. And there are like 2 parts in the game where I was like, oh, technically there is one level. There is one boss that technically does have a level. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I'll admit, it's also within my favorite genre, so it made me super happy. I was like, at the very least, I got this in my favorite genre as like the only actual level in the entire game. So there's at least something for me there. But I was like, man, I like that build up. Like, there's nothing to it. Like, you fight these random enemies in random locations. Even the designated matches, they just take you to random spots. Like, for the most part, you go up to space anyway. Like, very few of them actually are like, okay, you have a battle here, and then the battle loads in that area. There are like very few of those in the actual game. Most of them take you to space, so it's super weird. But having no levels, that was the issue for me, because I was like, it does make it a bit of a boss rush game, and since most of the designated matches are so quick, it just makes it less entertaining. And like I said, also the load screen stuff. I would love to know your thoughts on that, because I know, like I said, some people actually preferred that, and I don't mind the enemy variation. It's literally just like, I would like to fight a bunch of them. I would like to go through a level, even if it was like most of the, obviously like the little alien knight characters are like the fodder enemies more than anyone else. You could put a bunch of those in, that's fine. Those are the random dudes in suits I'm slicing up anyway. Like it's totally fine. I would have loved levels leading up to these different bosses, and we just don't get that. We get like these empty open worlds to just run around in random missions, and it's like, I feel like all that work could have been put even into small levels or something. I don't know, but missing levels is just an issue that I had with the game. It was just like, I wish we had more from that. And then, as far as the levels are concerned and, getting money to go to the ranked matches, I don't really understand why they even bother with money in this game for the most part. That's another thing. Like, you go through the designated matches, you do, your side missions and stuff, and we get money. And also the Wyson, I think is what they call it. But you can only spend money on like 4 things. The ranked matches, which are pretty much common, that's a part of the whole franchise. Sushi is a new thing. The gacha machines, which you have to unlock from a particular thing. And then the final thing is that there's actually one of the t-shirt aliens you do actually buy shirts from. And I think it's just, it's one at a time. You don't get to go through a list. And I think you have to basically leave Stand and Destroy and then come back, and then, the alien will have a new shirt. So aside from those 4 things, you don't spend money. I felt like I had a ridiculous amount of money through this whole game. And I think that's because of the final thing that's really missing, which is the customization. You can't change jackets. You can change shirts, but it's all based on random things you do in the game, like, do 50 dodges or do this many wrestling moves or kill this many enemies. So you don't, aside from that special alien, you don't actually spend money on any of the customization stuff. There is no extra customization stuff. Anything as far as health and powers and things like that, all of that is done with the Wyson. So the money just seems very odd to me. Like, I mean, obviously you need it because of the main thing, but it's weird. Like, and I could be alone in this. I barely bought the sushi. I honestly think I paid for sushi like 3 times in the whole game. I bought like a couple of little ones, and then, you do like the special dine-in ones maybe twice through the whole game. So that could just be me. I could be an anomaly in that case. But by the time I beat the game, I was like, I have a ridiculous amount of money, and there's really nothing to actually spend it on outside of the food. Like, the gacha machines are definitely like the most expensive thing because there's multiple of them. So maybe that's why they did it that way, because you would spend all your money there. But I would much rather have customization than the gacha machines. Like, let me tell you, I was hoping that we would have the jackets again. I love that blue jacket from the second game. That was like my favorite thing ever. If I remember right, it was blue, and it had like the tiger pattern was like white on the back, or maybe one of the shirts had a white tiger, something like that. I don't remember. But no jackets, no shoes, and then of course this goes back into the combat. There are no separate beam katanas. I was really looking forward to that. I was like, all right, I love that from the second game, especially the dual wielding one. You could switch in, in the actual levels. You can, swap them out as long as you don't get hit in the face as you're doing it, because it was a fairly slow animation. But you got multiple beam katanas. Each one had, different strengths and things like that. I was looking forward to all that stuff coming back. And instead, the thing that came back was like a crappy open world. And I didn't mind the open world. I missed it in the second game. I was like, oh man, it sucks they took that out. But to bring it back and have it the way that it is, I thought was really bad. And then we lost like all the other epic stuff. I'm like, literally, the one thing that came back was the thing that we needed the least, especially considering how it ended up turning out, where it was like, this just doesn't, like I said, could be a personal thing. I have the newer model of the Switch. I don't have like an original one. I just had issues. I even had issues in the very beginning. When I first played the game before my first update, my first cutscene was out of sync. Like, the audio wasn't even synced up with the video. And I think that was changed. It seemed like it got better for sure as the game went on. So I think that was fixed in my first update. But I had some major random issues with that in the beginning. And like I said, the load-in stuff, that was just my whole gameplay. I was just like, but in Stand and Destroy, I was basically like, I don't expect to see anything in detail. Billboards would go out, just like, it just wasn't good. So very odd random issues. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about for this video. But still enjoyed the game. I am going to do a new game plus. It's crazy. I think anyone who, of course, loves the franchise should own this game and play it. But I totally understand if people are disappointed. It's definitely the type of game where I'm like, I'm going to play it again, but I'm not like the most hyped for it, because I'm like, I can really just do the boss rush. I can go on YouTube if I want to see the cutscenes for everything, but really all I'm doing is fighting the bosses. Some of the levels I genuinely like from the other games, like just the level leading up to the boss, the different types of enemies you might fight because of them, or you know, it's all fodder anyway. But the levels themselves, at the very least, were entertaining, and this just cuts it all out, plus a bunch of other things that we missed from the old game. So don't want to bash on the game. I enjoyed it. Like I said, I am going to play it again, but I would love to know your thoughts on this. Like all the stuff that's missing, the stuff that was brought back as far as the open world, and how you guys feel about it, because I definitely feel like it's worse than the first one because of all the random issues and just the emptiness. Like I said, Neo Brazil, I just don't understand. It literally, all of that just could have been somewhere else. Or that could have been a story element. Like that could have just been the one thing we unlock, maybe, is just like the little dome area that's there. I don't know. But we'd love to know your thoughts on this. So thanks for checking this video out. Like I said, if you guys have any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. I don't hate the game. I know that that's like the whole point of this video, but I do not hate the game at all. But I'm definitely disappointed in it, which sucks because we waited so long. I mean, dang, when the Wii U first came out, the first thing I thought was No More Heroes 3 is coming out on this. Young and hopeful, young and hopeful. But hey, that's No More Heroes 3. I still enjoy the game. It definitely has its flaws. Want to know what you guys think, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course,
get the fuck out!